to another edition of Easy Talk. Today, you all are in for a special treat. If you are looking to enhance your business and you need production, great videos and quality, we have the man right here today that you need to be tuned into. We are welcoming to the show Mr. Fabian L. Matthews.
Hello, thank you, and welcome.
Thank you so much for taking time
You
out
know
of your
what?
schedule.
It's so hard being on this side of the camera. It really is. It's really hard being.
Because you're the producer, you're behind the
I'm
scenes.
behind the scenes doing all kinds of stuff.
Well,
It's so
as
cool.
you grow, you're
Yeah.
being comfortable with being uncomfortable,
Yes,
right?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me tell you guys a little bit more about Mr. Matthews because he has a phenomenal background and he's going to tell us even more about it. Fabian Matthews is the founder and owner of Spotlight Productions, LLC, right here in Memphis, Tennessee. Fabian has been a bright light in the Mid-South for video, commercial, TV, and movie scenes for over 20 years. In 1995, he graduated from Arkansas State University's School of Radio and Television. Matthew began his journey in 1994 at KAIT-TV in Jonesboro, Arkansas, as the producer, director, writing and shooting, as well as editing commercial advertisements. In 1997, Matthews moved to the WMC TV5 right here in Memphis, Tennessee, as the senior commercial producer and editor. In 1999, Matthews and two of his best friends partnered and decided to make the leap into the entrepreneurship world and founded Spotlight Productions Incorporated. Now, let me tell you about some of the astounding accomplishments that Matthew has had over the years. Emmy nomination for Entertainment Non-News, Emmy Award for Documentary, Emmy Award for In-House Promotional Spot and Non-News, and last but definitely not least in his achievements, he is a member of Leadership Memphis class of 2010. And I am so proud to be sitting next to him because I will be a part of the 2025 Best Class of Leadership Memphis. Let's give a warm welcome once again for Fabian Matthews.
Thank you. But you know, I want to say this. Everybody says they're the best class ever. So
We're going to prove it.
You going to prove it?
Class of 25, we got to get this, right?
But no, you're gonna love the experience. The experience is really great.
Thank you.
It's
I'm
gonna
looking
open your
forward
eyes to a
to
whole
it.
lot of things. It really will.
So tell us a little about your experience with Leadership Memphis.
Well, you know, I did it at a time where, I don't know if you guys still do this, but we went to Arkansas for a little
Retreat. Okay.
It was pretty cool. And I think the thing about it is a lot of the stuff that you know and you can, you develop some skills, but the biggest thing is the people that you get a chance to meet.
Yeah, the networking.
Doing big things in the city, you have to, I think for a business owner like yourself, you have to use that as your main objective. You know, it's a lot of things that Leadership Memphis teaches you. A lot of the stuff to me is, you know, we already know. We just glad other people know it.
And to be in that environment with like-minded people.
Like-minded people. And
yeah.
the thing is to try to, it's to better the city. You know, that's the whole thing about Leadership Memphis, is to better the city, to understand different things about the city that you may not know.
Yeah, and with the incoming new mayor, Mayor Paul Young, it's very important for the entrepreneurs to get together and really share their support with the city. I mean, he's got some great initiatives to help make the city better, cleaner, safer, and I think with all of our minds together, we can help him achieve those goals. So I'm excited to be a part of that.
Yeah, I think you're going to really enjoy. You're going to learn a lot of things. You really will learn a lot of things. But the biggest thing, as a entrepreneur, you take out of it the networking.
Yeah,
I think
which is going to be most needed.
Most needed.
Most needed.
I've got a lot of long-term friends and colleagues and clients from Leadership Memphis.
Yeah, and that's one of the major things that I've heard consistently across the board from so many different classes is they've developed long-term relationships.
Yes, and that's always good.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit more about you, Fabian, as far as the entertainment world, producing, and all the things that you've done. How did that come about?
Well, you know, I started off in college. I was a business major.
Okay.
And I was like, am I really doing anything? Because I was like in business management because I always thought, I saw myself at an early age as being a business, something in part of business, but you don't know.
Yeah.
You really don't know. We just saying stuff in high school. This is what we want to do.
It sounds good.
It sounds great. And then
you
you get into those classes and you're like, is this really what I want to do? And so I took some time off. I went to I enrolled into the armies to help pay for college.
Oh,
So I went to the military, and I was a reservist. Did and came back, and honestly, I heard some people talking about radio TV, and so I inquired about it. And then the next day, I went and changed my major, and became a radio TV guy. And then the very first class I took, guy Mike Bowman, he was teaching that class, and he worked at KAIT. And I was like, this is where I need to be here.
Oh, wow. And you were just immediately drawn to it.
I was just drawn to it. I was writing stuff. I was shooting stuff. You need a light change. I'm up the ladder trying to change the light. And at the end of the semester, he walked up to me. He said, hey, man, I love the way you work. If I get a job opening, do you want it?
Wow.
I'm like, hell yeah. And then he was like, well, it only pays minimum wage. I said, I'm in college, dude. I don't care.
Like, I just need to eat.
Yeah, I had my reserve checks coming in and my GI Bill checks coming in, and then I was a cook I was a cook too at a restaurant.
You were good.
So I'm like, and the unfortunate part, that's probably why my sympathy level is now, because in college I was taking 18 hours.
And doing all of that.
I had a full-time job. I was in the Army, and then I was cooking on the weekends, so I have no sympathy for anybody. Oh, I'm taking 15 hours, and I got to work 20 hours a week. When am I going to live?
Different breed. Different breed. We must agree that it's just a different breed.
A different breed. But then I also, you don't want to raise them, so... so that's...
The blame's got to go
somewhere.
The
blame is on us, man. The blame is really on us, but... I worked my butt off. I got into KIT, and I had a mission. My mission was not to stay there. And I was like, I was talking to some of my professors, like, all right, Fabian, you got 2 years before you graduate. So by the time you graduate, you'll be ready to move on to the next place. Well, I ended up staying at KIT for 3 years. And then
is that post-graduation, 3 years?
No, 1 year after I graduated.
Okay.
And so I'm still doing the coaches shows. I'm doing all, to me, the big stuff. And I get a call from this guy, Richard Innerwood. He's like, hey, man, I hear you the Avid guy down there. It's an editing software. And he said, we just got one. Can you come train some of our people? And I'm like, oh. I hung up the phone. I said, you want me to come to Memphis, which is a bigger market, because KIT was like 190 at the time.
Oh, my goodness.
And Memphis was in 50s, top 50. And I was like, you need me to come up there? So I came up there, and I was sitting there talking to him. Once he figured out I knew what I was doing, he said, hey, did they say anything about me at that station? Because I used to work there. I was like, oh, yeah, they did. And he said, what did they say? I said, you're going to try to offer me a job. And he said, well, you're right. We need an Avid editor. And that's how I got a job there.
Oh, wow. So it's really your ASU connection.
It was my ASU connection that got me both my jobs. What happened was, Richard didn't have it in the budget to hire me, so Creighton Armor hired me, but I had to work for both of them.
Oh, for that one salary.
For that one salary. See, we didn't know back then. We was confused.
Right. And you ask somebody to do that today, they're going to be like, excuse me, no thank you.
Exactly.
They're not going to think about the experience and exposure, which I'm so glad you did.
And I didn't care because I knew I had a pathway to get where I wanted to go.
Sacrifice.
But of course, back then, we did stuff like that. They got the best out of their employees back back then. Nowadays, I mean, shit, you'd be lucky. You'd be lucky if you get somebody to stay there a couple of years.
Now they do this thing where you get paid every day. At the end of your shift, they paying you because they want you to come back.
Exactly.
The workforce has just completely changed.
But it was great. Working at the TV stations were really cool until one time I hit a wall and I said, damn, I'm tired of being pimped.
So at some point you realized your value and your worth was a little bit more.
It really wasn't that. It was one of those things where I said, if I can make this amount of money for them, if I can make a percentage of it for myself, I'll be great. So that's the way I looked at it. And
so you were going to keep both?
No, I wasn't going to keep both. I was all in from day one.
Into entrepreneurship?
Yeah, from day one.
Okay.
And to May 2000, I quit the station. And we moved into our little strip mall place, and I haven't looked back since.
So, for our audience, as well as for me, was there any planning for you with an exit strategy? Or did you just say, okay, I'm ready to go full on entrepreneurship?
Well,
Because I think there are some steps that sometimes we as
are some
entrepreneurs
steps.
miss.
There are some steps. The step was you learning on somebody else's dime for one thing, and you honestly building your business on somebody else's dime.
Right, right.
You know, so
In
I
all
was
honesty.
doing little jobs. Well, we were doing little jobs while I was still working at the
Okay,
station.
okay.
You know, and I was networking with some of the people I was already working with while I was at the station. Totally wrong, but hey, statute of limitations is up. So we had, and then we were trying to get loans. We were trying to get loans from the bank. That didn't work.
Yeah.
Until Isaac knew somebody that worked at a bank, and she stuck her neck out for us, and that's how we were able to get the funding to buy all the equipment. Because when I came in, equipment cost a whole lot of money.
Wow.
Not like now, $20,000. You can do so much now in the TV realm. You can buy some of the best cameras that's out there, lenses and all that stuff for less than 20 grand. And all you need is a small computer as your editing system. So it's different. I mean, we were buying $25,000 cameras, $50,000 editing suite, stuff like that.
So you needed the loan.
So
you needed
we
real money.
We needed
Yeah.
real money, but you know, that real money payment was something. You know, the money we were paying back every month was something. And that's how I learned then about the banking system.
Okay.
I had moved downtown so I can have a better networking situation here in Memphis.
Okay.
I was living out east in Hickory Hill. Decided to move downtown, and I was like, this is going to give me the opportunity to meet a lot of people that I can't come in contact with. And so I moved into 10 South Main, and a lot of executives was there.
Oh, wow.
Lived there. And so I networked.
So you would see them and network with
I'd see
them.
them,
That was a good
network,
move.
So that was everything I've done over these 24 years have been really strategy.
Now, do you think you learned that strategy, or did you have a mentor that kind of guided you? Because strategy is everything, right?
I want to say there was a mentor, but no, that was just something I knew I needed to do.
Just your keen sense of what's my next move. You were
very
very intentional about where you mentioned earlier. I know where I'm trying to go, and so you made strategic moves to get there, basically.
And, you know, and I remember a friend of mine saying, just because you think it's common sense, it's not that common.
Oh yeah.
And I thought it was common sense. If I want to meet the people if I want to do work with the people that
I need to go be there.
I need to be where they're at. And so I thought that was common sense. And then somebody said, man, ain't nothing common about that. So I mean, and that's honestly, that's the way I thought. I was like, and then you find out years later, man, that was
Brilliant.
brilliant.
You're like, really?
Really? Don't everybody do this? And you know, and so I was making moves like that, and just keeping the name out there, and it wasn't just me. It was my other business partners. They were doing the same thing, but I was the only one full time. They still had their job at the TV station.
So this was your bread and butter, do or die.
Yeah. And my old Creighton Army, he used to tell me, and he was right. Once I think about what he was saying, he was right. He said, man, you eat a cracker, you done fed your family. My family is me. So I wasn't married at the time. I didn't have any kids at the time. I was still young. And I had a plan. If it didn't work, I can go find another job.
Right. You weren't letting anybody else down. Nobody was dependent on you. Right.
Yeah,
right.
by myself.
Right.
And so that worked out. And then I met a really good friend of mine, Doug Vanover, who's recently passed, that told me the banking game. And that's why I tell people now that want to listen, don't worry about who the bank is. Worry about the banker, the person inside of it.
The relationship with the bank.
With the banker, not the bank.
With the banker.
Because that's what's going to get you over that hump when you need it. That's when you got a guy you can call and say, hey, this happened. Oh, man, just do this, and this. And that's how, we paid that loan back in 2 years. And a lot of it was because I went to the bank. I knew nothing about a line of credit.
Yeah.
I went to the bank, got a line of credit. They turned us down. The lady at the bank, she told me, she's like, Peggy said, go to the bank. They're going to turn you down. Because she worked at the same bank we had all the money.
So she knew the qualifications.
She knew it. She said, go to the bank. When they turn you down, this is like she said, when they turn you down, call me and tell me what he said. So I said, damn, Peggy, you're right. They turned me down. What did he say? I said, he really didn't say anything. He just said, at this point, we can't do it. He said, that's all he said to you? I was like, yeah. She went in there and benched and moaned and told them we have gave money to all your white friends and they ain't paid us a dime back. And you got these guys that's trying to do some really good work. They got money in the bank. They ain't bouncing checks. They ain't doing none of that. And you won't give them a loan? That dude called me back 15 minutes later and said, your loan is ready.
Wow.
And I was like, damn.
That says a lot about your brand and your integrity.
Yeah, yeah. And it says a lot about them, too.
It does, which we won't discuss today.
We won't discuss that.
So you mentioned something that I think that all entrepreneurs need to know and have, and I don't want to screw it up, but it's a banker, a CPA, and what else?
A very good spouse.
A very good spouse.
Because being an
support group.
Your support group has to be on point because your support group, honestly, to me, make or break you as a business. Because it's one of those things, when you're an entrepreneur, you know this.
Yeah.
You don't spend a whole lot of time at home.
Do not.
You got to go to parties, you got to go this, you got to do whatever you got to do.
You got to put boots on the ground.
Yeah. And that takes a lot away from being at home. And so if your spouse, your significant other, your parents, don't understand that and they're not in your corner, you probably not going to do well in business.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I want to take a moment with my interview with you to that point and shout out my family. My family came out. I was fortunate enough to be one of the Power of 30 with Curtis Givens, and my family came out, 2 tables full, supported me, shouted, cheered me on, partied with me late at night, which they don't do, and that made me feel really good. That made me feel
like
really
what
good.
you're
So I
doing is working.
understand. I understand that point. Yeah.
And, you know, and my wife she had to sacrifice, but I will say this, I had to sacrifice too, because I missed out on a lot. And unfortunately, a lot of entrepreneurs only get, you missed out on this, you missed out on that. They don't see the sacrifice that we do. Sometimes family don't see the sacrifice we do.
But they see the come up.
They see the comment. They see the fact that they can walk over to the light switch, turn it on, lights come on.
They say they know your glory, but don't know your story.
They can go to the refrigerator, see food in there and all that stuff. They can go out and crank the car up and go to school, all that stuff.
Don't know you ain't have 3 hours of sleep.
Yeah, they don't know all that stuff. And they don't know the times that I was wondering where that next check coming from, and I'm in the dark with a drink in my hand, trying to figure out some stuff. It's a lot of things about entrepreneurship that we hide from people. People just see the end results. Oh, you got all this stuff. I was like, yeah, but you don't know it.
Exactly.
You don't know how I got it, and you really don't know how I kept it.
It's definitely difficult. It's a difficult journey. When you look at your budget and what you need, what you got coming in and going out, you sacrifice on a lot of things. Vacation with family and friends, going out to eat, you know. I had to start meal prepping. I was going to the hair salon every week. I started going every 2 weeks. I was skipping my nail appointments because it has to be something within you that makes you say, I'm going to make it.
And you know, and for me, when you get up in the morning, and I'm not an early riser. Anybody that know, I'm not an early riser. I will stay up all night. And I look at my schedule. It's like, okay, I know I got to be at such place at 8 o'clock, but these 3 days I don't have to be. So I sleep in, I stay up late. I mean, I'm just wired that way. I do my best work from that 5 to 9 era at night. I'm more of a night person, which is another hard thing that your spouse got to deal with. But when you know that about yourself, you're able to handle it a little bit more.
I think having a 9-to-5 corporate job is awesome. It works for some people. But when you transition over into the entrepreneur world, you learn so much about your strengths, who you are, and you have to accept that and say, how can I adjust my goals to who I am to where I can actually make it happen? If you know that you're a night person, why would you set an 8 o'clock a.m. scheduled meeting? Why?
The only time I set an 8 o'clock meeting is one day. This is the only time we can do it.
But you're not volunteering because you know that's not your strong suit.
If somebody called me, hey, what's a good time in the morning? 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, that's America. That's where I am. That's the way I'm built. I'm built that way. But you know, But then I also have the luxury of working with my son too. He works for me, and good, bad, or indifferent. He works for me. He's doing a great job. You know, my daughter wants to get involved, so it's
the legacy building that people talk about. You are actually living that right now.
And the fact that for the last 24 years, I didn't have to depend on a job paying me, helping me take care of my
That's
family.
a mouthful.
Yeah.
That's a real mouthful.
Yeah. I ain't had to take on no second jobs. I never had to do any of that stuff. And I do sit back and I was like, how the hell did I do this? I was like, God, thank you, because there's times I was just, the white flag was in the hand. I was just ready to throw it. And something always happened. Something always came through.
Right on time. So this question may be a little difficult for you because you mentioned God and you know God did it. But what do you think differentiates you in Spotlight Productions from any other company that's in your industry?
That is because I've said it before to a lot of people. I've seen people that were more creative than I was. Businesses fail. They couldn't hack it. They didn't stay in it long at all. I think my thing is I recognize there's an art to what I do, but then there's a business side to what I do. And you have to balance both of those.
Your creativity and your knowledge.
Yeah, your creativity and the way you run your business. Because, example, if I know I got this $800 MLG&W bill that's due in 2 weeks, and somebody comes to me and say, hey, this is a lot of work, but I only have $800 to do, I'm taking
You taking the $800?
Yeah.
Every time.
And I know
it's
people,
not devaluing yourself.
It's my whole thing. I used to tell myself, there's a reason I'm in business. There's a reason I'm still in business. So if I can just stay the role, something's good's gonna happen.
It'll take care of itself. You have to stay the course. You have to stay the course.
I can't help nobody if I'm not in business. And people are like, oh man, you underselling yourself. You're doing this, and all money ain't good money. And I was like, to a certain degree, that's true.
Yeah, to a certain degree, that is absolutely correct.
But when you go home, you see family you got to feed, you see kids, you see bills, you see car payments, you see all that.
That $800 bill,
that
no
shit
dollars.
go out the window. It does. It goes out the window.
And you know, one thing that I've learned to do, because I've had to do that sometimes too, especially early on in my business, I've had to say, you know, my resumes are $300, but I've taken $150. I've taken payment plans, but I always put it in their invoice and in their contract that this is a one-time agreement of da-da-da-da. Just because you have to be honest with yourself and know that people will come back and say, well, last time I only had to pay such and such.
Well, and also I realized early on that you have to plant seeds, and those they're not going to grow overnight.
Yeah,
they might take 5 years for you to bear some fruit, but you have to plant those seeds. It's like like my grandfather said, son, you can't catch a fish if your pole ain't in the water. And
that's true.
You know, you look at little simple stuff like that, it makes sense. Because you have to be in the game to accept the fruits of your labor.
Exactly.
And
you never win if you don't, you never lose if you never take yourself out of the game.
Yeah.
You have to stay in the game.
You have to stay in the game. And it's a lot to stay in the game.
Oh my gosh.
It's a whole lot to stay in the game.
It is a lot.
People just look at, they see the end, like you said earlier, they see the end. They see the glory. They see the glory. They don't see all the struggle and all that stuff. It's just like last year I decided I bought this building in 2006, and I decided I wanted to add on to it because of all the things that they were doing down in this area. And I mean, I got people saying, hey, I wouldn't do that. Oh man, that's a big taking on, especially in this economy. It's like, well, I'm looking at the long game here.
Right.
Everything to me has been the long game. And a lot of people in our industry don't play the long game.
And success just does not come overnight. You've got to put some work in. That's for any entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Anything that you do, you've got to put the work in.
Yeah.
You've got to put the work in.
And you got to share the knowledge that you have also. You know, I see a lot of people, But I will say this: a lot of people are not ready to hear what you have to say sometimes, because people have their own way of doing things, and I have no problem with that. But if I'm that guy, if you really want to know how I done it in business, and I say how I done it in business because what I've done works for me.
Right. It may not work for them.
You.
That's right.
It may not work for you. It worked for me. But I know banking works the same. Your accountant works the same.
Exactly. Relationships
still works the same.
Relationship.
But the way I run my business, it may not be for everybody. It might bankrupt another business. But this has worked for me, and I do what's worked for me, not what works for somebody
And relationships have worked for me too. And in having relationships, I've found that you have to be very careful who you share your resources with and why and when.
Yeah.
Because if I call on you, I want you to know that I need you.
Yeah.
I'm not calling on you 3 times a month, right?
I just don't want to hear your voice. Shit. I mean,
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
What's up with you? Can I do anything for you? Let's go to lunch.
Yeah.
It's not always a I need.
Yeah. And it can't be always I need. There's time I've done things for people out of the kindness of my heart. Oh, I'm gonna help you out, blah, blah, blah. Except for this one lady. She called me. She's like, hey, I need a commercial done, and that got your name from such and such. I was like, cool. She said, but I can't pay you right now. And I was like, well, what do you mean? Can I pay you once my business gets started? I said, so are you asking me to invest in your business? Yes, but you get nothing out of it, but I'm eventually pay you for your commercial that you make for me when my business gets going. I said, I'm sorry, ma'am, I just don't do stuff like that. I was sitting there shocked. I was like, man, that was one thing I've never heard anybody say before. And that kind of took me, and at first I thought.
And she didn't know you. She didn't have a relationship with you.
She didn't know me.
Somebody referred
her to me, and I gave her what I thought was a good deal. And she's like, well, I don't have that right now, but once my business gets going, I should be able to.
No plan, no date, no, can I make payments on that?
No.
Or
we didn't even get to what her business was. So I was like, wow. But it's a give and take in business. I mean, you have to do things. You have to do things for people, and I don't mind doing anything for anybody.
So over the decades of your business with Spotlight Productions, what is your greatest learning lesson?
I think my biggest learning lessons is learning when enough is enough.
Oh man, that's deep.
And I say that is I had 2 other business partners, which, everything has his place. But it comes a time, because I was scared to be by myself. And I didn't realize that. And, somebody, well, you're already by yourself. You're the only one full time down there. And there's no knock to anything that they did or was going on. Is that I was scared of being by myself.
And you had to come to terms with that.
And I had to come to terms with being by myself. And that was probably one of the scariest things when one of my business partners decided that, I'm gonna go do something else. And I was like, shit, I'm by myself now.
Was it a fear that you would fail without them?
No, it was a support system fear.
Okay.
Not
having anybody there.
Yeah, not having anybody here. That was the thing. But as soon as that happened, bigger things opened up. So, but it's that, and knowing that you will make mistakes. That's just going to happen.
Yeah.
You're going to spend money where you shouldn't have spent. You're going to do things. You're going to buy stuff you shouldn't have bought. You're going to do all of that. That's a learning. That's a part of learning. And luckily, and hopefully, you don't learn it too late.
Yeah. So where you're burned and out of business.
Yeah, where you're burned and out of business. Like I told a friend of mine the other day, I said, don't get yourself in a situation where you can't recover. And he said, well, how will I know that? I said, unfortunately, when it happens, you already can't recover.
Yeah, unfortunately.
So you have to look at all right, I owe this much a month. I only got this much coming in. I don't have nothing on the books. Let me start preparing.
Yeah.
You know, and my brain, unfortunately, which is one of the things, I wish I had that FU gene. Just F it. I wish I had that. I don't have that gene.
I don't have it.
And my brain runs 3-6 months down the road.
Which is a very good thing. It helps you be intentional.
It helps you be intentional, but that is true, but it worries the shit out of you.
As my grandmother say, you writing checks you can't cash.
No, and I mean,
because those worries, it may not even come to pass.
It may not even come to pass.
It may not even come to pass. So
you know, I'm sitting here, I'm looking at the money I got coming in, I'm looking at the money I got in the bank, and I'm like, most people are like, oh, you good. And I'm like, man, all it takes is one of them just not doing
to not go through. Yeah.
And that's where my brain works, and I'm sure my wife stays frustrated with that because she's, you know, women have the ability to believe and think, which is great, that prayer will solve everything.
And it will, sir?
No, I know it will. I do know it will. But sometimes you're like, I don't know, prayer gonna help this one right here. Wait. You sitting there like, oh, man, I did, but I done already. Because what do y'all say? I'm already prayed about it.
I already prayed about it. Not gonna pray and worry. It's good. He got it.
Yeah. And I think that's probably why y'all live longer, because that's the first thing y'all say. We sitting there trying to figure it out. I'm gonna go to another job. I'm gonna do this. And y'all, I already prayed about it. It's in God's hands now. And we still at home like, we're doing all that right there, but no, I realized God had me a long time ago, because I could have easily been out of business 3, 4, 5 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So where do you think that strength and motivation comes from? I mean, definitely from God, but
I always had a fear of failing.
Is it something that you meditate on, something you read, something you do that keeps that mojo in you saying, go another day? Because as an entrepreneur, we need some self-motivation.
I've always had a fear of failing. And I remember before my dad passed, he really wasn't in my life. And I remember telling him a lot of things, me graduating from college, me doing this, it really was to get back at you for not being there.
Like, I can do this. I can be successful without you.
Exactly. It become one of those. And then I had to realize that is really bad behavior. You know, because you're a kid, you don't know the situation.
Right.
You know, we think we know the situation.
But you don't know why he's not there.
Yeah, we don't know any of that stuff. And so, you know, I had to come to terms with that. And once I came to terms with that, my life opened up a lot better as far as how I felt about my childhood and all that stuff. So, you know, I've always had a fear of failing, even though I know that's a part of life.
Yeah.
You know, so I have a fear of failing. I don't want to fail at anything,
Even though
I fell out of a lot of
hard.
stuff. Yeah, I worked extra hard. I did stuff, and you know, like I say, I might not get, something may not jump into my head creatively until 9, 10 o'clock at night. And I have to stay up here and do it. And so where am I at? Where am I not? I'm not at home.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's those are some of the sacrifices I was talking about earlier.
But I think as an entrepreneur, when you get to know yourself, truly know yourself and understand who you are and how you make decisions, I think it helps you move a little bit better, and people can accept you more. They become more aware of who you are and more accepting of that, because that's who you consistently been.
That's who you consistently are. But you know, the biggest thing is a lot of us don't know that about ourselves. Yeah. And it took me a minute to figure that's what I am.
It does take us some time to really know ourselves, because I think our first intuition is just to say, I'm me, I know me, I live me every day, so I know who I am. But if you don't intentionally think about it, what moves you, what ticks you, what makes you happy, I've heard people say, you know, their business flourishing makes them happy. So you're going to die if your business dies? You're going to be depressed if your spouse leaves? I think that inner joy is what you have to find. And some entrepreneurs, and I would say I'm one of them, get to live out that passion, get to live out that happiness. But you have to first figure out what that is.
You really have to first figure out what that is. And I realized, like I said, I realized that about me a while back. And once you let your family know, hey, this is how I am, I hope you can accept it, and if you're upfront with people, people will accept it, and you just have to make other arrangements and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but,
you can work around it. I would rather be with someone that I know is consistent than somebody that's all over the place and chaotic every day, because I don't know what I'm going to get.
Yeah, and then the fact that I am an entrepreneur, I never miss any of my kids' things.
So you can balance it out.
I can balance it out.
That's a very good thing. That's a very good thing.
I try my best to balance it out. Now, have they gone on vacation without me? Yes. Because,
but you sent them.
That is true. That is true. So, but I, you know what? I can't complain. I've done some incredible things over these last 24 years. Even when I was working at the TV station, I've done some incredible things. I had an incredible career. I was telling my wife the other day, if this all was taken from me tomorrow, I could not drop my head. I really couldn't.
You would be proud. Just reading your bio, I am proud. I am honored to know you and to have you on the show, honestly, because you've been through enough, and not that you've just gone through things in life, because if you live, you're going to go through something.
Yeah, exactly.
But it sounds like you've honestly taken a look and said, okay, what's next? What do I do? How do I make this happen? And you've been able to live your life off of strategy and motivation from yourself to say, I'm going to get this done.
Yeah.
And some people fold. Entrepreneurship is not for everybody.
Hey, when I told my mom I was doing that, she's like, you going to leave that good job at the TV station?
Exactly.
And I was like, I don't make no money there, right?
And some people look at titles and maybe what you drive or your house.
It's when you mention anything that's dealing with TV, the number goes up. Dude, you work at the TV station, you got to be doing good.
Is that a true statement?
That's not a true statement, because there's some people on the TV set. Like I say, my first job was making minimum wage, and I was doing some important stuff. I'll be sitting at my friend's house, and my commercials and stuff will come on.
Wow! So that fame and popularity, people associate that with value.
With money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you should, but that's not the reality. I mean, it's just like you think of actors.
Yeah.
We think all actors are rich. No, you go to California, most of them working at in restaurants and stuff. So it's the people behind the scenes makes the money.
The producers, the editors, the writers.
The producers, directors, and stuff like that. They make the majority of the money.
Tell us about some things you've produced.
Have you ever seen that commercial where dudes say, "Don't lose your head,
use your head"? Yeah.
Yeah, I did that.
I still see it on billboards around town too.
Yeah. It was funny how that came about. Howard Robinson at Trust Marketing, he called me up. He said, "Hey, Faye, the city wants to see a spec of this. They need to get a better idea of how this spot gonna go." I was like, "All right, come on down to the studio. We'll just shoot something." So the plan was to do something a little bit more elaborate than it was.
Okay.
So we were upstairs, and I never forget this because my air conditioner was out upstairs.
So y'all were hot.
So it was in the middle of summer, and Gerald was in there. He was sweating, and I looked in the back of the camera. I was like, "Hey, it's a good look." So I went and got a spray bottle. I sprayed him even more. And so we did it, and then we got down to the end, where he said, "Don't lose your head, use your head." Well, the original line was, "Don't lose your head, use your head, young brother."
Young brother.
And I was like, I don't know if that's going to work. It ain't hitting hard enough. And I said, "Let's do Maine." And Gerald like, yeah, let's do that. And he did it. I edited the spot, sent it to the city. This is great. And next week it started running.
And Maine is on everything, every T-shirt. It's the same. Maine and Memphis go together.
Yeah, go together. And so that's how that how that came
Wow.
about. And it took us maybe 30 minutes to an hour to shoot. And it was, we thought, like I say, it was supposed to be a spec spot. Anybody don't know what a spec spot is? A spot that you do to show what could be possible. Yeah. Well, that ended up being the spot.
That was it. That was not a rough draft. That was the final cut.
Yeah, that was the final cut. We didn't change anything from that spec spot.
Wow.
And still got paid the same. So. So I did that, and I used to do this show called Definitely Downtown with the Center. Well, at the time it was the Center City Commission, but it's the Downtown Commission now.
Okay.
With my guy Lee Warren. Lee Warren, I remember telling Lee, I said, Lee, man, you're gonna become the downtown guy. He said, man, I don't want nobody calling me that. And then that's what he goes by now.
The downtown guy. Yep, the downtown
guy. So we
guy.
did that. We did a lot of work for the city of Memphis, a lot of work for, one of my biggest things, we do a lot of stuff for the National Civil Rights Museum.
Oh, that's
And-
good. That's good.
And I've been working with them for the last 22 years, I think.
Wow.
So I do a lot of their work. A lot of the videos that you see that they put out, I've done. Like if you go to the Freedom Awards, I do all the videos that shows during the Freedom Awards.
Yes.
And we just finished this documentary on Ida B. Wells.
Oh.
That was a journey. We did that. I think it took us about 7 years to do that documentary.
7 years?
7 years, interviewing somebody here, somebody there. We went up to New York to interview somebody at one of the colleges up there, people that wrote books and stuff. We went to Vegas to interview her great-granddaughter, stuff like that. So that was a really nice project to work on. And that is the one thing that I was like, well, when I'm well and gone, that will still exist.
Yeah.
So, and then the other thing is I'm proud of, I just did a renovation to my building, added a studio to it, added a phenomenal LED wall to it. I got a rooftop deck. I'm proud of that. You know, I have put my name on Uptown Memphis.
Uptown Memphis,
Yeah.
Fabian Matthews.
I put my name
So
on
if any of our entrepreneurs want to come out and shoot something with you, use your studio, how can they reach you?
Call Spotlight Productions. Call, you can go on our website, spotlightproductions.net. We got our Instagram page, Spotlight Productions MEM. Fabian Matthews, you can type that in. Like dudes say, Google me.
He's Googleable.
Yeah, so you can do all that stuff. If you can't find me, you're not looking, honestly.
Well, Fabian is the man. If you're looking for quality content that you want to showcase your business.
Next to Philip.
Philip is PJ Townsend Films.
Yeah.
He does all the productions for so many people, corporations, nonprofits, entrepreneurs, as well as musicians.
Don't take my clients, Philip.
So we are being recorded today by PJ Townsend Films. So you've got options when you're looking at Easy Talk. We have some options for you. Our main mission is to help you build and enhance your brand. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you next time. Today's episode is sponsored by Spotlight Production, a television production studio. Mr. Fabian Matthews is an Emmy award-winning producer located right in Uptown, Memphis, Tennessee.